Hey, happy Sunday. I was trying to say happy uh lose an hour day. I don't know if that's very happy, but anyway, that's today. Anyways, I wanted to do a brief vlog on sleep and children. I have a girlfriend who's having a hard time, and so I wanted to do a quick video and share some tips that I have learned about sleep in children, and hopefully they will be helpful to her and helpful to you as well. So, the book that I'm going to be referring to is this amazing book. It is called Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child. Look at that little happy baby on there. He's just sleeping. She, he, whatever. Anyways, the book is by Marc Weissbluth, MD, and he's also the author of Your Fussy Baby. And I was blessed to receive this book when my little guy was about 3 or 4 months, and I realized how much sleep that he had been deprived of because I didn't know what I was doing. And so it has been kind of the baby Bible of my library on babies and children. And so it's a great book because it starts at 0 and it goes all the way up to school age children. There were some statistics that I found in this book that I thought were pretty cool. It said that at 3 years old, 91% of children are still taking naps. I had no idea it was that high. Um, at the age of 4, 50% of children are still taking naps 5 days a week, just five. And then at 5 years old, only 25% of children are still napping 4 days a week. And then at 6, they're usually done napping. And the only time that they may nap may be on the weekends. And that just may have to do with your culture or whatnot. And so my first tip is that sleep breeds sleep. And this was really eye opening to me when I started reading this book. Um, Let me back it up. I am not the expert on parenting. Um, I have read this book and I've discovered things with my children that has been helpful. Obviously, all children are not the same. I think that sleep is a universal thing, but some kids have really difficulty sleeping, and it's not something that you can just solve by reading a book. But I'm just sharing these tips that me and my husband have come to discover that works for us, and we're just hoping that it'll help other people. So, not at all am I saying I'm the expert and I know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Um, Everybody's child is different, but we do think that sleep is a universal thing and does apply to all children. So, tip one: sleep breeds sleep, and basically it's a simple thing. If your child sleeps the amount of hours that they need to sleep, um, and you allow them the opportunity to sleep as much as they need to, they'll sleep. It'll help them to sleep more. And I think this tip is probably more effective, when your child is much younger, um, because allowing them to sleep and making sure that they sleep helps them as they get older to be able to sleep the way that they need to. But me and my husband were talking about how, as adults, if I were to take a 2 hour nap in the middle of the day and then like try to get up and go, it would be very difficult because I've slept too long. For me as an adult, I've slept too long and therefore I'm groggy and it's really hard to get going and finish the rest of my day. And so I think the same thing applies with children. If they are able to sleep a good amount of time every day, um, they'll be able to sleep when they need to. Their body will be more adaptable to that. Um, Surprisingly, I read in this book that at 0, like babies are supposed to sleep 20 hours a day. I mean, that's a lot of hours. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I think that that's a misconception. A lot of times, parents will say, "Well, keep your baby up longer, like keep your baby up late, and then they'll sleep more during the nighttime, and that is just false. It's just false, and I've experienced that firsthand. That is false. That is not how you get your child to sleep at night, is by keeping them up late. And that leads to my next point, which is overtiredness. If you keep your child up longer than they're supposed to, trying to get them to sleep longer at night, they will be overtired and they will not sleep. And I totally experienced that with my son. He would sleep kind of good during the day, and at nighttime, he would be wide awake. And I'm like, okay, I changed your diaper, you've been fed, we've played, like, it's time for you to go to sleep. Like, it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you need to go to sleep. But because he wasn't napping correctly during the day, then at night he didn't sleep at all. It was it was miserable. And on top of just not getting enough sleep because you have a newborn, it was really difficult. And so I was able to be more on top of that with my daughter. And she was on a schedule probably by her second month of life. And I didn't force her into a schedule. She told me what her schedule was. I watched her, I logged her sleep and her eating and all of that. And, she was able to go into a schedule very well and was sleeping through the night fairly quickly after she was born, and so um, that was great. But generally, if kids are not getting enough sleep, and then you try to get them to sleep, at a time that they generally don't sleep, they're not going to sleep. And perfect example, today we lost an hour of sleep. My daughter took a nap, but she still lost an hour. And then yesterday she didn't sleep. I think she was like playing and changing clothes or something, because she ended up falling asleep at 5 o'clock while I was doing her hair, something that never happens. I ended up laying her down and finishing her hair, and she did not wake up. Like, that's really tired for my daughter. So today she loses an hour of sleep. She takes a nap. But when we came home after church tonight, um, I hadn't changed the clock in my car, and I hadn't changed the clock in the kitchen. And those were the clocks that I was looking at, not my cell phone. And so I ended up putting her to sleep at like 9 p.m., thinking that it was 8 o'clock. So now she's kind of lost another hour of sleep. And so she did not go to bed very well. I mean, we read and we sang and we prayed, but then my husband came home, and then she wanted to see him. And then she kept getting out of her bed, and then she was crying, and then she was screaming, and then she was kicking. Like, to me, even though she was throwing a tantrum, which is not okay, she was overtired. She had lost those 2 hours of sleep. Therefore, when it was time for her to go to bed, she was not having it. And like all hell broke loose. And so that, I think, is a great tip. The last tip is just signs of tiredness. And, the universal sign for tiredness for kids and babies is rubbing their eyes. But I've discovered, you know, also yawning, obviously. Um, but with my kids, their attitudes. They're not bad kids. Um, they don't just constantly get in trouble just for no reason at all. And so when my kids seem to be having a hard time just like relating to one another and playing together, um, I see that sometimes as a sign of them being tired. And for instance, today, again, we all lost an hour, so my kids lost an hour. My son was really grouchy this afternoon, and he was fussing with my husband, and then he was fighting with McKenna over his DS. And I mean, I'm just looking at him like, dude, chill out, sit down, go do something. But I could tell that he was just tired. And so I made him go lay down, 6 years old, and I made him go lay down, and he threw a fit. But that boy fell asleep, and I think he was out for a good 2 hours, and my husband had to wake him up. And so he was much pleasant. Unfortunately, um, he slept too long, and now he's having a hard time going to sleep, and he has school in the morning. So um, it all kind of ties in together. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that really quick. Again, we are not experts. I am far from perfect as a mom, but I think that these tips are helpful. They've been helpful to me. Um, and, you know, me and my husband were talking, when our son was in preschool, he was going to preschool 2, 3 times a week, and he had to take a nap. And all the kids in the preschool took naps from like 12:30 on. Sometimes they would have to wake my son up because he would sleep too long. And so a lot of times things that happen at school don't translate to home. And um, I think it would be easier on our lives if it did. They kind of set that up for us and they keep it consistent so we can keep it consistent at home too. So anyways, I hope that that's helpful for anyone who can get anything from this video. That's all I want to be, is helpful. I am not telling you how you should raise your child, and that I know better, or that I even think that I know your child, but these are things that have helped us, and I hope that they are helpful to you. Please share comments and share your tips with me. There's things that I'm still learning, especially with my 2-year-old. She is a girl and not a boy, so it's a totally different ball game, but please share your comments below. Hope this helps. Thanks.